and welcome to K&N Bible Studies. I'm Kate.
And I'm Monica.
And today we are studying 1 Corinthians 13. Today I will be reading from 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Agape love, the supremacy of love. 1 Corinthians 13, 1-2. Love is superior to spiritual gifts in and of themselves. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, I have not love, I am nothing. A. Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, the Corinthians were enamored with spiritual gifts, particularly the gift of tongues. Paul reminds them even the gift of tongues is meaningless without love. Without love, a person may speak with the gift of tongues, but it is as meaningless as sounding brass or clanging cymbal. It is nothing but empty noise. People of little religion are always noisy. He who has not the love of God and man filling his heart is like an empty wagon coming violently down a hill. It makes a great noise because there is nothing in it. Josiah Gregory, cited in Clark. Tongues of men and angels. The ancient Greek word translated tongues, has the simple idea of languages in some places. This can be found in Acts 2:11 and Revelation 5:9. This has led some to say the gift of tongues is simply the ability to communicate the gospel in other languages, or it is the capability of learning languages quickly. But the way tongues is used here shows it can, and usually does, refer to a supernatural language by which a believer communicates to God. There is no other way to understand the reference of tongues of angels. In Paul's day, many Jews believed angels had their own language, and by the Spirit one could speak it. The reference to tongues of angels shows that though the genuine gift of tongues is a legitimate language, it may not be a living human language, or may not be a human language at all. Apparently, there are angelic languages men can speak by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Paul has a fascinating comment suggesting that the tongues of angels describes how God may speak to us in a nonverbal way. Angels have no tongues, nor make any articulate audible sounds by which they understand one another. But yet there is certainly a society or intercourse among angels, which could not be upheld without some way amongst them to communicate their minds and wills to each other. How this is we cannot tell. Some of the schoolmen say it is by way of impression. That way God indeed communicates his mind sometimes to his people, making secret impressions of his will upon their minds and understandings. Paul was not correct in his suggestion that angels can't speak. In many places in the Bible, angelic beings speak both in heaven and on earth. Yet it is interesting to consider angels may have capacities for communication that we do not have, and will not have until believers are glorified in their resurrection bodies. Prophecy, knowledge, and faith to do miracles are likewise irrelevant apart from love. The Corinthian Christians missed the motive and the goal of the gifts. Making them their own goal, Paul draws the attention back to love. Paul, quoting the idea of Jesus, refers to faith, which could remove mountains. This can be found in Matthew 17:20. What an amazing thing it would be to have faith that would work the impossible. Yet even with that kind of faith, we are nothing without love. A man with that kind of faith can move great mountains, but he will set them down right in the path of someone else, or right on somebody else, if he doesn't have love. It isn't an issue of love versus gifts. A church should never be forced to choose between love and gifts of the Holy Spirit. Paul is emphasizing the focus and goal of the gifts, love, not the gifts for their own sake. Possession of the charismata is not the sign of the Spirit. Christian love is. V. Have not love. Paul uses the ancient Greek word agape. The ancient Greeks had 4 different words we could translate love. It is important to understand the difference between the words, why Apostle Paul chose the Greek word agape here. Eros was one word for love. It described, as we might guess, the word itself. Storge was the second word for love. It refers to family love, the kind of love there is between a parent and a child, or between family members in general. Philia is the third word for love. It speaks for a brotherly friendship and affection. It is the love of deep friendship and partnership. It might be described as the highest love of which man, without God's help, is capable of. Agape is the fourth word for love. It is a love that loves without changing. It is self-giving love that gives without demanding or expecting repayment. It is love so great that it can be given to the unlovable or unappealing. It is love that loves even when it is rejected. Agape love gives and loves because it wants to. It does not demand or expect repayment from the love given. It gives because it loves, and it does not love in order to receive. According to Alan Redpath, we get our English word agony from agape. It means the actual absorption of being in one great passion. Redpath. Strictly speaking, agape can't be defined as God's love, because men are said to agape sin, and the world, but it can be defined as sacrificial, giving, absorbing kind of love. The word has little to do with emotion. It has much to do with self-denial for the sake of another. We can read this chapter and think that Paul is saying that if we are unfriendly, then our lives mean nothing. But agape isn't really friendliness. It is self-denial for the sake of another. 1 Corinthians 13:3. The most dramatic renunciation of self are the same way, profitless without love. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but I have not love, it profits me nothing. Bestow all my goods to feed the poor. This is what Jesus told the rich young ruler to do, Matthew 19:16-30, and he refused. But even if the rich young ruler had done what Jesus said, yet had not love, it would have been of no profit. Though I give my body to be burned, even if I lay my life down in a dramatic martyrdom, apart from love, it is of no profit. Normally, no one would doubt their spiritual credentials as someone who gave away everything they had and gave up their life in dramatic martyrdom. But those are not the best measures of someone's true spiritual credentials. Love is the best measure. There were some early Christians so arrogant as to think that the blood of martyrdom would wash away any sin. They were so proud about their ability to endure suffering for Jesus, they thought it was the most important thing in the Christian life. It is important, but not the most important. Without love, it profits me nothing. Even if it is done willingly, full notes, and not be dragged to the stake, but freely give up myself to that cruel kind of death. Without love, it profits me nothing. Some believe the burning referred to here is not execution, but branding as a crime or as a slave for the sake of the gospel. The more likely sense is execution, and it really matters little, because the essential meaning is the same, great personal sacrifice. As well, some ancient Greek manuscripts have, if I give up my body, that I may glory, instead of though I give my body to be burned. Again, the meaning is the same, and the difference is really minor.
Many Christians believe the Christian life is all about sacrifice, sacrificing your money, your life for the cause of Jesus Christ. Sacrifice is important, but without love, it is useless. It profits me nothing. Each thing described in 1 Corinthians 13 through 3 is a good thing. Tongues are good, prophecy and knowledge and faith are good, sacrifice is good, but love is so valuable, so important that apart from it, every other good thing is useless. Sometimes we make the great mistake of letting go of what is best for something else that is good, but not the best. The description of love. Lest the Corinthians should say to the apostle, what is this love you discourse of? Or how shall we know if we have it? The apostle here gives 13 notes of a charitable person. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4a. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. Two things love is long suffering and kind. Love suffers long and is kind. Love, at the beginning, we see love is described by action words, not by lofty concepts. Paul is not writing about how love feels, he is writing about how it can be seen in action. True love is always demonstrated by action. Love suffers long. Love will endure a long time. It is the heart shown in God when it is said of the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but is long suffering towards us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. 2 Peter 3:9. If God's love is in us, we will show long suffering to those who annoy us and hurt us. The ancient preacher John Chrysostom said this is the word used of the man who is wronged and who easily has the power to avenge himself but will not do it. Out of mercy and patience. Do you avenge yourself as soon as you have the opportunity? Love is kind. When we have and show God's love, it will be seen in simple acts of kindness. A wonderful measure of kindness is to see how children receive us. Children won't receive from or respond to unkind people. 1 Corinthians 13:4b through 6. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth. 8 things love is not envious, not proud, not arrogant, not rude, not cliquish, not touchy, not suspicious, not happy with evil. Love does not envy, love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love does not envy. Envy is one of the least productive and most damaging of all sins. It accomplishes nothing except to hurt. Love keeps its distance from envy and does not resent it when someone else is prompted to be blessed. Clark describes the heart which does not envy. They are ever willing that others should be preferred before them. Is envy a small sin? Envy murdered Abel. Genesis 4, verses 3 through 8. Envy enslaved Joseph. Genesis 37:11 and 28. Envy put Jesus on the cross, for he knew that they had handed him over because of envy. Matthew 27:18. Many persons cover a spirit of envy or uncharitableness with the name of godly zeal and tender concern for the salvation of others. They find fault with all. Their spirit is a spirit of universal censoriousness. None can please them, and everyone suffers by them. These destroys more souls by tithing mint and cumin than others do by neglecting the weightier matters of the law. Such persons have what is termed, and very properly too, sour godliness. Clark. Love does not parade itself. Love in action can work anonymously. It does not have to have the limelight or the attention to do a good job or to be satisfied with the result. Love gives because it loves to give, not out of the sense of praise it can have from showing itself off. Sometimes the people who seem to work the hardest at love are the ones the furthest from it. They do things many would perceive as loving, yet they do them in a manner that would parade itself. This isn't love, it is pride, looking for glory by the appearance of love. Love is not puffed up. To be puffed up is to be arrogant and self focused. It speaks of someone who has a big head. Love doesn't get its head swelled, it focuses on the needs of others. Both to parade itself and to be puffed up are simply rooted in pride. Among Christians, the worst pride is spiritual pride. Pride of face is obnoxious, pride of race is vulgar, but the worst pride is pride of grace. William Carey is thought by many to be the founder of the modern missionary movement. Today, Christians all over the world know who he was and honor him. He came from a humble place. He was a shoe repairman when God called him to reach the world. Once, when Carey was at a dinner party, a snobbish lord tried to insult him by saying very loudly, "Mr. Carey, I hear you once were a shoemaker." Carey replied, "No, your lordship, not a shoemaker, only a cobbler." Today, the name of William Carey is remembered, but nobody remembers who that snobbish lord was. His love showed itself in not having a big head about himself. Love does not behave rudely. Where there is love, there will be kindness and good manners, perhaps not in the stuffy look at how cultured I am way of showing manners, but in the simply way people do not behave rudely. Love does not seek its own. Paul communicates the same idea in Romans 12:10, in honor giving preference to one another. Also, Philippians 2:4 carries the same thought. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interest of others. This is being like Jesus in a most basic way, being an others centered person instead of a self centered person. Love is never satisfied, but in the welfare, comfort, and salvation of all. That man is no Christian who is solicitous for his own happiness alone and cares not how the world goes so that himself be comfortable. Clark. Love is not provoked. We all find it easy to be provoked or to become irritated with those who are just plain annoying, but it is a sin to be provoked and it isn't love. Moses was kept from the promised land because he became provoked at the people of Israel. Numbers 20, verses 2 through 11. Love thinks no evil. Literally, this means love does not store up the memory of any wrong. It has received love, will put away the hurts of the past instead of clinging to them. Love thinks no evil. Literally, this means love does not store up the memory of any wrong it has received. Love will put away the hurts of the past instead of clinging to them. One writer tells of a tribe in Polynesia where it was customary for each man to keep some reminders of his hatred for others. These reminders were suspended from the roofs of their huts to keep alive the memory of the wrongs, real or imagined. Most of us do the same. Real love never supposes that a good action may have a bad motive. The original implies that he does not invent or devise any evil. Clark. Love does not rejoice in iniquity. It is willing to want the best for others and refuses to color things against others. Instead, love rejoices in the truth. Love can always stand with and on truth because love is pure and good like truth. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 7. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Four more things love is: strong, believing, hopeful, and enduring. Spurgeon calls these four virtues love's four sweet companions. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. All things we might have hoped. Paul would have chosen any phrase but this. All things covers everything. We can all bear some things, we can all believe some things, we can all hope some things, and can all endure some things. But God calls us farther and deeper into love for Him, for one another, and for a perishing world. You must have fervent charity towards the saints, but you will find very much about the best of them which will try your patience. For, like yourself, they are imperfect, and they will not always turn their best side towards you, but sometimes sadly exhibit their infirmities. Be prepared, therefore, to contend with all things in them. Spurgeon. Love does not ask to have an easy life of it. Self love makes that her aim. Love denies herself, sacrifices herself, that she may win victories for God, and hers shall be no tinsel crown. Spurgeon. Love bears all things. The word for bears can also be translated covers. Either way, Paul brings an important truth along with 1 Peter 4:8. And above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins.
Thank you for watching our video today, and we'll see you next time.
If you like and subscribe.